Okay, so one question that was asked in the discussion boards this week had to do with increasing and decreasing and constant. And so I wanted to do just a quick little mini discussion about that to hopefully clear it up. So when we are talking about increasing, decreasing, or constant, okay, we are talking about the x values, okay? So the biggest thing that we have to remember is that increase, decrease, or constant is the location of the graph along the x-axis. Okay, so we're talking about the location along the x-axis. Now, the other thing that you have to keep in mind is that you have to start from the negative side and you're going to travel to the positive side. Okay, so that's what you're doing. You're starting from your negative most side, or the negative most part of your graph, and you're going to travel along the x-axis to the positive most side. Okay, and so we have to be able to tell along the x-axis where your graph is positive, where it is negative, or where it is increasing, where it is decreasing, and where it is constant. So what I like to do is I like to put my pen on my graph. So I'm going to start over here. And this is my negative infinity side. So I'm going to put my pen up here on the top. And I'm just going to start tracing my actual graph. And so what happens when I put my pen on my graph and I start drawing, notice my pen is starting, it's actually up here towards the top of my page, or the top of my desk. And notice when I draw, I am drawing in a downward direction. And I would keep drawing all the way down to where I change direction. Okay? So this first spot, or this first part, is going to be decreasing. Okay, so here we are decreasing our graph. So we have to be able to tell where that's happening along the x-axis. Well, my arrow here tells me that I'm starting at the negative infinity. So my interval says I'm going to go from negative infinity, and I'm going all the way down to this point here where I change direction. So if I look up, that's occurring at this point. Now notice on my graph I did not label any y-axis values because the only thing I care about are these x-axis points. So here I'm going all the way to -4 before I change direction. Now the other thing that's going to happen now is I am going to change, and I am now going to go in a different direction. So I'm going to put my pen where I left off, and I'm going to start tracing. And notice this time I traced it in an upward direction. I started down from where I was, and I pulled the pen away from myself. And then I stopped it at the next point where I changed. So I stopped it right here, at this point here. And so notice this is actually going to be my -2 point. Now, some students always ask, well, what about where you cross the axis line? Well, when we're talking about increase or decrease, crossing your axis is not what matters. What matters is the direction your line is going and where does it change direction. And so here I have an increasing. So this right here, my orange graph, is actually increasing. And I am increasing from -4 up to -2. And then I stopped. Okay. Now, if you look, my graph has a new direction. And yes, it does kind of look like there might be a little bit of a curve to it, but there's not. If you look here, I'm going to travel along this line. And notice at no point did I go up or down. Okay, this one right here is my constant. And I am constant from -2 to +2. Okay, so I'm constant all the way up to this point, which is where I changed direction again. And now, if you look, you can notice on this next part, I again put my pen on the page, and when I draw this line, notice again in an increasing direction. So here, I have another increasing interval, which is going to start at 2, and it goes all the way up to this point here, which we've labeled as 5. So this is going to be -2, or +2 to 5. Sorry about that. And then notice when we got all the way there, we've changed directions yet again. So to do the last part, I need to put my pen right where I changed directions, and again I'm going to draw. And notice in this case I'm going in a downward motion, or I am pulling my pen towards the bottom of my table or desk, whatever it is you're sitting at. And so here, that means this one has a decreasing component to it. So I'm going to look at where I started. Well, I started decreasing here at 5, and notice I'm traveling on through my arrow. Well, this is the positive infinity. Okay, so here my interval is going to go from 5 up through positive infinity. Okay, so what do we actually have? Well, if we were to make our notes, what do we know? Well, we know for a fact that the following is happening. We have some decreasing intervals, and we are decreasing from -infinity to -4, and then again we're decreasing from 5 to positive infinity. We know that we have a couple increasing places, so we are increasing from -4 to -2, and then again from 2 to 5. Last, we have some constants. And in this place, it happened from -2 to 2. Now, if you actually take a look, what do we know about a number line? Well, we know that our number line, when we draw it, starts at the -infinity and goes all the way through to the positive infinity. So when you are talking about increase or decrease, you always want to make sure that you are starting on the negative side and you are ending on the positive side. And remember, the only thing we care about are the x values. So you are taking a walk along that number line. Okay? So hopefully that's helped to clear some of the increase and decrease up in terms of what their intervals are. And as always, have fun with your math and be sure to ask any questions should you have them.